Move your car. Now. Lucy leans against her SUV, smiling like she's on a magazine cover. She doesn't even glance at the barn. Good morning to you, too. Isn't the sunrise just lovely over the pasture? My hands curl into fists at my sides, jaw tightening. You're blocking my barn. My cows need to be milked. We don't run on your HOA's brunch schedule. Lucy tilts her designer sunglasses down, voice dripping syrup. Well, I would have parked in a designated area, but your fence is such an eyesore I couldn't bear to look at it. Thought this gravel stretch would be more neutral. I take a deliberate step forward, boots crunching on gravel. That neutral stretch is on my land. You're parked 22 feet past the property line, I measured. Lucy brushes imaginary dust off her pristine blazer. We have overlapping easement rights. It's all in the HOA charter. You should read it sometime. A muscle twitches in my cheek as I stare her down. I did. I also read my deed. My family's owned this land for over a century. You moved in 3 months ago with a pamphlet and a vendetta. Lucy's perfect smile falters, her face stiffening. This is about community standards. I will not have roosters crowing at 5 a.m. and cattle stinking up the air while I'm trying to enjoy my meditation. My voice rises as a cow bellows from the barn. This isn't a gated resort, it's a farm. That stink you smell? It's called working for a living. Lucy crosses her arms, chin lifting in smug defiance. Maybe if you weren't so resistant to progress, we wouldn't have these conflicts. I lean in close enough to smell her expensive perfume, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You think this is progress? Parking a 2-ton SUV in front of a milking barn? You're not enforcing standards. You're declaring war. Lucy flicks her hair back with manicured fingers, but her smile wavers. Don't be dramatic. I'll only be a few hours. You can work around it. From inside the barn, 32 restless cows begin stomping. I don't blink. I have 32 cows inside. Their udders are full. You've got 10 minutes before they stop being patient. And trust me, Betsy's not gentle when she's annoyed. Lucy lets out a high, nervous laugh, already reaching for her phone. I'll call the HOA board. You'll regret this. I smile for the first time, watching as the first cow pushes against the barn door. No, Lucy, you'll regret it. Picture this. It's a sunny Saturday morning, and I'm gearing up for a productive day of work on my property. But as I step outside, I'm greeted by the sight of a shiny SUV blocking my access. This isn't just any vehicle. It belongs to a member of our homeowners association. And let me tell you, the ensuing conflict was nothing short of dramatic. The morning dew soaked my bare feet as I shuffled across the yard. Coffee mug in one hand, feed bucket in the other. If that SUV is still there, I'm milking my cows through its windshield, I muttered, half awake, not truly believing I'd need to follow through. But as I rounded the corner of my 120-year-old dairy barn, there it was, a gleaming silver BMW SUV, vanity plate reading LUCY1, parked dead across both barn doors like it was valet parked at a country club. Not a working farm reeking of hay and manure. My 32 cows were bellowing inside, hooves stomping, udders swollen, their patience as thin as mine. I stood there, steam rising from my mug, staring at the audacity of it. This wasn't a mistake. This was war. Lucy Taylor, self-crowned empress of the Willow Creek HOA, had moved into her oversized mansion 3 months ago, a stucco fortress with fake Tuscan columns butting up against my family's century-old ranch land. She'd been a thorn in my side ever since, with her passive-aggressive HOA letters. Yesterday's gem complained my unsightly cattle fence was devaluing neighborhood aesthetics. The day before, she'd slipped a glossy pamphlet under my truck's wiper, Progressive Alternatives to Antiquated Farming Practices. I chuckled then. Now with her BMW blocking my barn, my cows on the verge of mutiny, I wasn't laughing. This was no longer petty neighbor nonsense. It was a calculated siege. But Lucy hadn't stopped with me. A week before the BMW incident, she fined the Alvarezes $200 for their unauthorized rose bushes that extended 3 inches past the HOA's landscaping border. She ordered Mr. Thompson across the street to repaint his porch steps twice, claiming the shade of gray didn't match the neighborhood color palette, despite it being nearly identical to hers. Then there was the time she banned sidewalk chalk, citing aesthetic integrity, leaving little Emma in tears when her hand-drawn rainbows were power washed away. She even filed a formal complaint against the neighbors, wind chimes stating they were audibly aggressive. The neighborhood group chat became a war zone, with neighbors swapping stories and screenshots of Lucy's latest tyrannical crusade. I stomped over to the SUV, hoping Lucy was inside to face me. No luck. Locked tight, a sun hat on the dash, a half-melted latte in the cup holder. The nerve. I circled twice, confirming there was no way to maneuver my tractor without risking damage to her car, or worse, my cows. Every minute the herd stayed trapped. The pressure built, literally and figuratively. I dialed Lucy's number, straight to voicemail. Her syrupy voice dripped with fake charm, the kind she used at HOA meetings to mask her disdain for folks like me. Next, I called the tow company. "Sorry, Jack," said Greg, the owner, before I could finish. "Can't tow from HOA property unless it's a documented hazard." "That gravel's technically shared access," I growled. "She's got a 2-ton blockade on my barn, Greg. My cows are about to burst." He sighed. "Unless it's a fire lane or you've got a police report." I hung up. That's when Betsy, my lead cow, let out a low, judgmental bellow through the barn window, the kind that said she'd unleash chaos with or without an open door. I raised my hands in surrender. All right, I muttered. "We'll move the obstacle." I turn on my heel and walk away. Behind me, Betsy bellows like thunder, shaking the barn walls. I head for the tractor. Enough is enough. The backup barn doors, rarely used, opened onto a steep, muddy hill at the rear of the property. Desperate times. I pulled on boots, fired up the tractor, and hitched heavy-duty chains to the BMW's frame. The engine roared like it relished the mission. I dragged Lucy's pristine SUV inch by inch, tires grinding through gravel, then mud. Thick, unforgiving mud. 5 minutes later, it sat in the cow pen, gleaming smugly. I unhooked the chains, swung open the rear doors, and 32 cows charged out like freed prisoners. Some galloped, some pranced, but all zeroed in on the shiny intruder. Betsy fogged the driver's window with her breath. Daisy nibbled the antenna. Mabel kicked mud onto the hood. And Rosie, God bless her, climbed halfway onto the bumper, mistaking it for a hay bale. By the time I climbed to the barn loft for a better view, the BMW was a masterpiece of cow slobber, hoof prints, and a steaming pile courtesy of nature. I laughed harder than I had in years. Then came the shriek, high-pitched, apocalyptic. Lucy stood at the driveway's edge, clutching a designer purse, her perfectly coiffed hair frizzing in the humidity. Her eyes locked on her defiled SUV, now the centerpiece of my cow pen. She didn't speak for 10 seconds, then pointed at me, voice trembling with rage. "This is vandalism, destruction of property, a lawsuit." I raised my mug, still warm, and called down, "Next time, try a visitor spot." The moment the HOA member arrived to retrieve her car from the cow pen, the tension in the air was palpable. Her face was a mix of disbelief and anger as she confronted me, demanding to know why I had taken such drastic action. I could see the frustration boiling over, and while part of me felt a sense of satisfaction, another part was wary of the confrontation. She accused me of being unreasonable and claimed that I had overstepped my bounds. I stood my ground, explaining that her parking had blocked my access to my own property, but it was clear that this incident had ignited a firestorm. Lucy didn't slink away like a rational person might. No, she stood there, flats caked in dung, dialing her phone with the hysteria of someone reporting a kidnapping. Her voice carried shrill accusations of criminal acts and health hazards. Meanwhile, Betsy leaned on the BMW's hood, groaning contentedly. I figured I had minutes before this escalated, so I whistled the cows toward the pasture. Rosie, obsessed with the side mirror, had to be dragged away. I towed the BMW out of the pen, parking it just outside the gate. Mud crusted the wheels. Smears of something dubious coated the doors. One mirror dangled. An hour later, 3 golf carts rolled up my drive. HOA insignias gleaming like FBI vans. Lucy led the charge, flanked by Martha, who wore her HOA badge like a sheriff's star, and Ted, who nodded to avoid conflict. Lucy dismounted with the flair of a soap opera villain. "This man," she declared, voice pitched for the neighbors, "has damaged my vehicle, endangered our community, and unleashed aggressive livestock." I sipped my coffee from the porch. Swarm? They're cows, not wasps. Martha brandished a clipboard reciting, "Per subsection 14C, animal containment must prevent intrusion onto communal driveways." I pointed at the BMW's former spot. "Your car was on my land. I own every inch, up to the water meter, measured it." Ted squirmed. Lucy stepped closer, eyes blazing. "That's shared gravel." I tapped the brass boundary plaque from 1978. "Nope, 22 feet inside my line." Lucy turned red. "The sheriff will settle this." I grinned. "Already called him. Got the tow on video. Want me to send it to your insurance?" Martha and Ted exchanged glances. Lucy whispered something sharp. They nodded reluctantly and drove off. But I knew Lucy. She wasn't retreating. She was reloading. Sure enough, the next morning, a yellow violation notice was taped to my fence. Non-conforming roof color. My barn was red. Classic barn red. Then came more. Excessive noise before 8 a.m. My rooster, Clarence. Unapproved structures. My 1990s chicken coop. It was a petty blitzkrieg. I started a folder labeled Lucy's Crusade, stuffing it with notices, photos, and videos. I added a trail cam by the drive. On day 4, Lucy upped the ante. A kid in a cheap security uniform stood at my gate, sunglasses too big, clipboard in hand. "This is a monitored access point," he said like he was guarding Fort Knox. "Non-approved farm traffic must report." I blinked. "Son, you're on my driveway." He squinted at his clipboard. "You're violating rural commercial boundaries." I pulled out my phone recording. "This man's obstructing legal access to a livestock operation. No badge, no authority. Leave or I call the sheriff." He backed off, muttering. 10 minutes later, Lucy paced her porch, phone to ear, fuming. I called my niece Sarah, a county livestock inspector with a knack for sniffing out nonsense. "Swing by for a surprise inspection," I said. "I want proof my farm's cleaner than Lucy's conscience." 2 days later, Sarah arrived, boots on, with a camera crew filming a community agriculture segment. Lucy watched from her porch as Sarah toured the farm, praising my model operation, loud enough for the neighborhood. Lucy's face was a storm cloud. That night, I dug through my dad's old file box and found a 1963 deed map. Lucy's driveway and fountain sat on my family's utility easement, land she didn't own. I called Tom, a retired surveyor, who confirmed it. Lucy's landscaping encroached 6 feet into my property. I drafted a cease and desist with a title attorney and filed a boundary review. When Lucy got the notice, she went quiet for 2 days. Then she erupted, plastering mailboxes with flyers screaming, "Farmer threatens community peace." In the days that followed, the community buzzed with gossip. Neighbors whispered about the toe incident at the local coffee shop, and I could feel the eyes of the community on me. Some residents sided with me, applauding my decision to take action, while others viewed it as an unnecessary escalation. The mixed reactions left me feeling both empowered and isolated. She held an HOA meeting on her lawn, waving a whiteboard labeled, "Reclaim Our Streets." Only 15 people showed up, half for the cookies. When Aaron, the HOA vice president, asked if she'd permitted her driveway extension, Lucy stammered. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. An anonymous envelope arrived containing screenshots of Lucy's HOA group texts. She called my barn an eyesore and admitted to parking on purpose to teach me control. I sent them to my attorney and shared copies with the cul-de-sac. The next day, Lucy's illegal fountain was jackhammered out by an HOA crew. She screamed, but no one listened. A neighbor clapped. The final blow came at the emergency HOA meeting. Residents packed the clubhouse, standing room only. Tension thick in the air. Martha, who once supported Lucy, nervously clutched the HOA charter as murmurs filled the room. Aaron opened the floor to grievances, and one by one, neighbors stood to speak. Greg from Lot 9 recounted how Lucy called code enforcement on his 80-year-old father for having a garden gnome. Beth showed text messages where Lucy threatened to escalate to legal action over kids playing too loudly. When I played the video of her BMW being surrounded by cows, complete with her screeching in the background, there were gasps, then stifled laughter. The final vote was swift, coming in with the result of 87% in favor of removal. Lucy was suspended indefinitely as HOA president, pending removal proceedings. As she stormed out, someone quietly muttered, "The cows did more for this neighborhood than she ever did." Lucy vanished for 3 days. Then a moving truck appeared, loaded her life away. She drove off in the scratched BMW without a glance. After Lucy's moving truck disappeared down the county road, a quiet optimism settled over the neighborhood, like the first cool breeze after a long, humid summer. The HOA meetings grew shorter and far less combative. The Alvarezes planted a whole second row of roses, and we hosted a block-wide harvest picnic. The new neighbors, the Whitfields, brought fresh energy with them. They built a little chicken coop and asked me for farming tips. Even the old-timers started stopping by again, sharing stories over mugs of sweet tea. I fixed up the barn windows and installed a wooden plaque on the gate, "Lucy free since 2025. And every morning, when I hear Betsy bellowing at the sunrise, I smile, because some battles are worth fighting, and some victories are best served with mud, manure, and a herd of very satisfied cows. This experience highlights the complication of living in a neighborhood governed by an HOA, where personal boundaries and community rules often intersect in challenging ways. It serves as a reminder of how quickly misunderstandings can escalate and the importance of clear communication in maintaining harmony among neighbors. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales of resilience and justice. Your support allows us to keep delivering valuable insights and stories that inform and inspire people everywhere. Thank you for watching Work Story, and see you in the next one.